Welcome back in, Hitting Hard with John Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. When you find us, hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. Of course, we're free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms. You can download us on Spotify, Odyssey, all your favorites. Leave us a 5-star review and then follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. One of the big decisions that the Hawks have to make here, and make here kind of pretty quickly, even though he's going to become a restricted free agent, is picking up and extending the contract of DeAndre Hunter. Now, if we go back to the way it ended for the Atlanta Hawks last year, right? That final game, that game 5 against Miami, Hunter was outstanding, right? He had like 35 points, was just all over the court, and really was their big offensive boost. We've been kind of waiting for DeAndre Hunter to kind of have that explosion, right? He was the 4th overall draft pick. He came out as the best defender in all of college basketball. He was definitely, without question, he was the best one-on-one defender coming into that draft a few years ago. It's been a bit of a slow, kind of stumbling. Really, that's more because of the amount of games that he's played. In his 3 seasons in the NBA, he's only played a total of 139 games, 63, 23, and then 53 last year. Last year, he averaged 13.4 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 1.3 assists. Okay. I mean, nothing spectacular. He was 15 points a game the year before. Is he the Hawks' best wing defender? Yeah, he's the Hawks' best wing defender. But what does an extension look like for DeAndre Hunter? So I'm going to give you another name that I think we all hope that DeAndre Hunter can become, and that's Mikal Bridges from the Phoenix Suns. Now, Bridges is a guy that, if you look at his numbers last year, 14 points a game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Okay, that's pretty similar to DeAndre Hunter. He shot 36.9% from three-point land last year. Hunter was 37.9. Okay, seems like Hunter's right on pace with what Bridges is. There's one big thing that Bridges is, though, in comparison to Hunter, and this is where we hope that it can be. Bridges is a first-team All-NBA defensive player, and he is an outstanding defensive player. In fact, there's a pretty good separation if you look at defensive ratings between where Bridges is and even where Hunter ranks right now. So if you like those kinds of stats, and I do think that they are at least a way to give you some kind of perspective when you talk about defensive rating and you talk about, points per 100% possessions and things like that. There aren't a lot of other great metrics, so I'm open to hearing about a different one, but Bridges is an elite level defender. And I think the hope is that Hunter can become that kind of guy as well. I think we're hoping that he becomes that player. Now, when we come back, I'm going to talk about the money aspect of everything. But let me tell you about my friends at Arcade 1-Up. Listen, we've got big news. NBA Jam is back. So it's obviously one of the great games of all time, but they've made it even better. There is a new, bigger, better version, and that is the Shaq Edition machine. So we know how much you love NBA Jam, and it was one of the first games to feature real and digitalized licensed NBA teams, no fouls, no free throws, things like that. We know how much you love it. But our friends at Arcade 1-Up have come up with this new Shaq Edition machine. Now, by the way, Arcade 1-Up too, go to the website, Golden Tee, Mortal Kombat, all kinds of other games. If you go to arcade1up.com, arcade1up.com, you can see all the games that they have starting at just $3.99. And more importantly, is you can pre-order this Shaq Edition machine. Arcade, the number 1, up.com, should ship sometime, hopefully in early September, and you can get the limited edition Shaq Edition machine. Now, also, too, I want to let you know that here for our Locked On Sports Atlanta listeners, we are giving away an NBA Jam Shaq Edition. If you want to enter for a chance to win the game console for your man cave, whatever, go to arcade1up.com/locked-on. Again, arcade, the number 1, up.com/locked-on. And you're going to have until July 8th to win the NBA Jam Shaq Edition console. And you can pre-order it on their website for early September. Don't miss out. NBA Jam is back. So Bridges here recently signed a 4-year, $90.9 million extension. Okay. So you're looking at, what does that come out to be, right? Over 20 something million dollars a year, not, 20, 24, somewhere, maybe not, maybe 23, I guess, maybe some 23, $24 million a year on his extension, about 22, whatever. I'm not here to do math, but it's in the 20s. It's in the low 20s. How about that? Is DeAndre Hunter going to get that kind of money? Now, I've seen some reports that say his extension may be like 4 for 48. I got my Austin 316 shirt on. I don't think it's going to be 4 for 48. I don't think you're going to get away with paying a guy, not in the way the marketplace is. Offensively, DeAndre Hunter is every bit the player that Bridges is. I mean, statistically, you look at all the numbers across the board and what they do in this and the other, they're very similar. The difference is Bridges is an elite defender. Is there a premium on that? Sure. Now, Hunter, by the way, is 2 inches taller than what Bridges is. Bridges 6'6", Hunter about 6'8". But if we're talking about guys that we hope to become, that's what we hope to become. I'm going to guess that probably Hunter is going to sign for less than 90.9 in that 4-year deal, but he's probably going to average somewhere $16-18 million a year. Might not be 22, 23, but I think 16-18 million a year. Now, if you want to know part of the reason why that they may have moved on from Kevin Huerter, and the money thing is not the whole thing, but let's be honest, you do have to at some point also from a business perspective think about freeing up some cash because you're teetering on the luxury tax. And look, you got DeJounte Murray coming up in a couple of years. It's going to get a lot of money. Yeah, you're going to move some money off your books, but Hunter's got to get an extension. Okongwu's going to get an extension at some point in the next year or two. You're going to have guys that you're going to have to start feeding money to. While some salaries come off, some salaries are going to get put back on the books. And I think clearing up the $65 million at a position where you had a lot of logjam, okay, to be honest, they have too many guards. And I'm going to be honest, you ain't going to like this, but there's 100 guys in the league who can do what Kevin Huerter does. Okay, there's 100 guys that do what his skill set is out there. I like him. Thought it was a fun piece. They drafted him. I get all that. But $65 million is $65 million if you can clear all of that up. And Huerter just was going into the very first year of that extension this season. So if you're going to extend Hunter and you're going to have a bunch of money tied up into him, you're hoping that you're betting on what his next step is, right? I think Huerter, we kind of know exactly what he was and where he was level-wise. Hunter's a guy that you're hoping takes that next step. And you're hoping the guy that we saw in that Game 5 in Miami is the guy that he becomes. And I think we're hoping that, DeAndre Hunter can become a Mikal Bridges as far as how good defensively that he is. He's not there yet. He's not the same player. Offensively, there's a lot of similarity in a lot of the things that they do, but Bridges gets paid a bunch of money because he's an elite level defender. And you're hoping that that's what Hunter becomes. So his number is going to be very interesting because people have talked about $11-12 million. I don't think you're going to get DeAndre Hunter for $11-12 million. I don't think you're going to get it. If you do, kudos to Landry Fields and Travis Schlenk and whatever the structure is of their front office and Tony Ressler and whatever their structure is. If they get him for $11 or $12 million, that could be a steal. That could be an absolute steal in this league, especially if he takes the next step up. His biggest thing to start with is that he's got to play more. We have to be able to count on him playing 75 games next year. That's the first thing. Show me that he can be healthy, continue to leap defensively, and take your offensive game to the next level. He's going to get paid really well in the NBA. Now, when we come back, one name that I'm pretty not excited about that I keep seeing linked to the Atlanta Hawks. We'll talk about that next. It's Hitting Hard with John Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.